once you make that willingness to change, the book falls off the shelf, or the teacher shows up in a form that you could have never imagined. Or you hear something on the radio, or you meet a cab driver, or some enlightened conversation comes into your realm that all of a sudden is that shift that you needed to make that change and create that catalyst that becomes your greatest accomplishment, your greatest shift. And so that's all we need at first, is that slight willingness. That willingness that I had, that desire to change, that moment to shift, was all I needed to become the woman I am today. To live that life beyond my wildest dreams. And so when I became ready, I opened up and I said, okay, I'm ready for change. But what's beautiful and what's the main purpose of what I teach is that once you make that decision to change, you do not have to do it by yourself. You cannot be expected to make these changes on your own. All you need is that slight willingness.
You're not changing because you're trying to do everything yourself. You're trying to do it all alone. You can have a moment of inspiration, a moment of, this is the day, I'm going to change it all. And then when your environment and the people around you don't support you in doing it, and you're doing it all alone, you lose momentum. The next day, that momentum is gone, and the next day, the momentum is absolutely zero. You ever been there? Until you get the people around you to support you, to create a circle where you can feel like you do not have to do this alone, you won't change. And you'll stay stuck knowing that you're capable of more and frustrated with yourself at the lack of momentum. I run this challenge inside my Mover Makers program, and every month we have to talk about a certain topic. Mover Makers is for thought leaders. It's people who they have a message, they have a mission, they want to get out to the world. Your story matters. Let's get it out there and go. Come on. But it's really hard to share your story, and it's really hard to make videos, and it's really hard to put yourself out there. And you have these moments where you want to do it and you feel on top of the world, like, yes, I'm ready. And then what? Then all the insecurities and fears and doubts creep in. And as I was noticing people in Mover Makers not making enough content, I decided to do a challenge. And the challenge is once a month, we pick a topic. And this month's topic is courage. And what you have to do is make a solo video that's 10 minutes long. You have to make a lead magnet to help grow your business. And you have to do 3 collaboration videos. And most people do Instagram lives to collaborate with each other. And all of a sudden, people who took up the challenge started making content. All of a sudden, the excuses went away. I don't know what gear to buy. I don't know what camera to use. I don't know what microphone. I don't know what to talk about. My story's not good enough. I'll start next week. I'll start next year. I'll start next month. I'll start on my birthday. I'll start on January 1st. I'll start on Monday. I'll start next month, right? All of the excuses all of a sudden went away because you're not doing it alone. Because all of those reasons that are holding people back, that are holding you back, what you want to do something bigger. All of the reasons that are actually holding you back are not the logical ones that are in your head, right? The idea that you're not making content because you don't know what phone to use or what camera to use or what. I'm making these videos for my channel on my phone. I'm in my car at my wife's acupuncturist. She's getting acupuncture done right now in the building right next to me. And so I'm making content in my car. You can too, right? There are logical reasons why you are not doing the thing that you want to do, right? That you say is important to you. There's logical reasons that you are buying. You believe them. They are actual reasons, but they're not good enough reasons. And underneath those reasons why you're not doing the thing that you need to do is just that you're afraid. It's just fear. And suffering through fear alone is really, really hard. It's not that it's not possible. It's not that you can't do it. It's just immensely difficult. And most people won't. Most people won't follow through. Most people don't follow through because they are alone in this journey. You might have people around you. You might have great parents, friends, a spouse. But if you feel like you're walking the journey all by yourself, it's just insanely difficult to actually follow through and get the results that you want. The good news is you can change it, right? The good news is, hey, we don't have to stay stuck. The good news is you can change your circle. And I'm going to share a couple ideas in this video of how to do it. So, number 1, I like to collect good people. Collect good people. Think about the people around you in your life. How many of them make you feel happier, more energetic, more positive, and you may not have many people. You may not have someone like that. Great. Think about the people who you've ever met. Maybe it was at a conference, maybe an event, maybe a lunch or dinner, some kind of party, a friend of a friend. I find ways to spend more time with good people. I remind myself that I like to collect good people. And as someone who's shy and introverted, that's not my default state. I don't think to call people. I don't think to message people. I don't default to being around people. But when there's somebody whose energy I really love and I leave the conversation feeling more uplifted than when I went in, then I try to find ways to spend more time with that person. And maybe it leads to a business, maybe it leads to some kind of opportunity, maybe it just leads to another conversation. But think about the people who you have met at some point in your life. Maybe not the people around you right now, but an old high school friend, or again, somebody at an event or a club or some meeting that you met that you really like their energy and their vibe. I'll lean in on the awkward and say, hey, do you want to go grab a coffee? I'd love to learn more about your story. Or I really love your energy. Do you want to go and get some lunch together? It feels super awkward, but chances are they need somebody too. And if you be the first one to do the outreach and say, hey, I'd love to learn more about you. So these are people who you don't really know that well, but you'd like to. And you can even say that when you're talking to them. Hey, I don't really know you that well, but I'd like to. And lean in on the awkwardness. Be the first one to go off and do it. So think about the people in your network, people who you have met, one-off meetings, who filled you with that positivity, and fight for more time with them. Because if you had 4 people and you met everybody once a month, that's once a week now. You're meeting some amazing human. Whether it's coffee, whether it's lunch, whether it's a Zoom call, whether it's actually forming some kind of business together, there are people who you've come across who are the support that you need. And you need to do the outreach to say, hey, I'd like to get to know you a little bit better and spend a little more time with you. Lean in on the awkwardness. Collect good people. That's number 1. 2 is change your environment to be around the people even if you can't meet them. So watching this video is a great example. Watching this video, did you wake up this morning and you're like, yeah, my gosh, so amazing, let's go crush the day? Probably not, right? I didn't. If you did, then I am super jealous of you. You probably woke up and you're tired and you're looking at your phone and what's on my calendar for today, and immediately some of the limiting beliefs and thoughts and attitudes popped in your head. And so if you can't be around the people every day, the collect good people, if you can't be around them every day, then you can be around them virtually through videos, through YouTube, through books, through social media. Follow the people who make you feel better about yourself and make you want to go off and conquer your goals. Most of the time when people are spending time on social media, YouTube, Instagram, etc., how much of that time is spent actually learning and being inspired versus wasting time? How many times have you opened your phone, went to a social media app, and all of a sudden 40 minutes went by, you didn't even notice because you're just scrolling, right? Has that happened? That's not what you want to do. Don't lean in on that, right? Audit right now. Audit who you are subscribed to on YouTube and who you're following on Instagram. And ask yourself, do these people make me feel better about myself or not? Do I leave feeling more inspired than when I came in? And if no, then unfollow those people. And good news, there's lots of amazing people. Not just me, there's tons of amazing people who are making amazing content. And whatever you want to learn, whatever you want to get more into, when you can surround yourself, even in a social media environment, if you wanted to work out more, if you followed a whole bunch of fitness people who are working out constantly, people who are not making excuses for why they can't get to the gym today. If you followed all those people, it's now in your environment. You'll start to see it more often. It'll become that daily reminder for you, and you're more likely to go to the gym and work out. So whatever you want to be, whoever you want to be, whatever your goals are, choose to follow the people who are achieving those goals, who are living that, because it's not your identity yet. And for them, it is. And the more you're around that, they will suck you in to be like them. So choose very carefully what you want to get sucked into, right? It can also lead down a really negative, dark path, right? Whoever's more confident in their beliefs wins. So if you're around people who are strongly believing in something that is bad or evil or, against your core values, you could be sucked down a really dark, negative hole as well. So step 1 is collect good people. Step 2 is to be around them, be around in social media with intention, the people who make you feel better about yourself and go achieve your goals. And then step 3 is to join some kind of community, join some kind of group who are focused in on what you're trying to do. So if you want to get into fitness, then you can hire a coach to help you, a fitness trainer, or join a gym or join some kind of collective where you feel like you don't have to do this by yourself. Why Movement Makers is so special is because if you want to be a thought leader, where do you go? Where do you go to hang out with other thought leaders? Right? Nowhere. Do you know anybody who's a thought leader is trying to make great content and share it and have a message to give to the world? Who else that you know in your life talks like that? Probably not, right? So being around that and whatever it is that you want to learn, you want to be better at chess, then join a chess club and hire a chess coach. Be around the people. Be around the people. Join some kind of community so you don't have to do this all alone. One of the things that I struggled the most with is feeling like I have to come up with all the ideas myself, carrying everything on my back. And what I realized very later in my entrepreneurial journey, right? I mean, I'm 40. How old am I now? 40. I'm almost 42 when I'm filming this video. My first real business in entrepreneurship when I was 19. So it's been a while, 20 plus years of being an entrepreneur, not including like garage sales and that kind of stuff. And one of the hardest things for me was just not trying to have to do everything myself, not putting all the pressure on myself to have to do everything all by myself. I like to say in Movement Makers that 1 + 1 = 4,000. Like you come in, and not just Movement Makers, but anytime you do this, any club you join or group you join, especially if you're a giver, givers have a hard time asking. But when you're with other givers, they want to pour into you. They want to give to you. They want to see you win as well. So you come in hoping to get something. And then when you get that, plus you can contribute to other people and what they're doing and see that you're showing up for them also allows them to go off and accomplish their goals. It's just such a great cycle. And it's such a weight lifted to know that you don't have to do everything all by yourself. So you could be willing to change. You could have these great ambitions and great ideas of who you could be and who you want to be and the impact that you want to have. But it's not going to happen until you realize that you can't do this alone. Stop trying to do this alone. Stop trying to do everything yourself. You can change. People will support you. But it's on you to collect good people, to audit who you follow on social media, and to join a group of people who are like-minded. If you want to make one single change this year that will have a tremendous impact on the growth of you actually accomplishing your goals, decide to not do this alone anymore.
Also, to make sure you're actually taking action after watching this video, I've designed a special free worksheet just for this video. The worksheet will highlight all of the lessons learned in this video, as well as pull out our 3 favorite learnings and quotes that will inspire you to actually do something. The worksheet will also give you space to write down what your key takeaways are and your specific plan of action to make sure you're getting results. If you want the worksheet designed specifically for this video, absolutely for free, there's a link in the description below. Go click on it and start building the momentum in your life and your business. I'll see you there.
You are a prime example of what it means to be a super attractor. You're in joy, you're having fun, you're not attached to the outcome. That's how your entire career began. I'm not attached to the outcome, and I'm just going to do something in service and love and inspiration, and it's going to become this thing. And that's how I've built my career too. If you're in that job where you're feeling like this isn't working for me, I'm not into it, I'm mad about it, I get upset every time I walk into the office. The thing that you're missing here is that. And she's looking at me, she's like, what's she gonna say? I need to know. Give it to me, Gabby, give it to me. The thing that you're missing is that
When you appreciate what you do have, you create more of what you want. Appreciating even the job that isn't the one that you want forever actually helps you attract the next career path. And you think it's counterintuitive because you're thinking, well, I don't want to appreciate this thing I don't want. That's sending out a message to the universe that I want something I don't want. Actually, no. The more you appreciate what's in front of you, the more you become a magnet for what it is that you desire. So if you appreciate that job that's not that great, and you bring an energy that's a little bit more of a high vibe frequency, and you show up to work and you've got a better attitude, and people start to like you a little bit more because you're in that appreciation of whatever's around you. And they start to see you a little bit differently, and then maybe they give you a raise, or maybe they see some potential in you. Or maybe one day you're just in a really good mood because you've been appreciating everybody and you're not mad anymore. You're not complaining on your Instagram about how you hate your job. And you're walking through the office and you're in a really good mood, and you get in the elevator and you bump into somebody and they say, oh, what do you do? And you say, I'm a copy editor at this company and blah, blah, blah. And they say, oh, how interesting. We've been looking for a copy editor. Because it's your energy and your appreciation that creates that opportunity. So the more that you're in an energy of lack or fear or negativity, the more likely you are to deflect the creative possibilities in your life. The more you are to deflect the new opportunities, and the less fun you have, real. You know what I mean? Like, the key to attracting what you want, people, is to have fun. Straight up, have fun.
So for our audience, can you define what exactly is manifesting?
Manifesting is acquiring the experience of what it is that you want to feel, and being and living and believing in that experience, and then allowing that experience to come into form. Manifesting is very creative. It is the process of using your power energy and being in that presence of your high-powered energy and allowing that energy to co-create with the energy that's around you. So you're vibrating at a high frequency. I'm vibrating at a high frequency.
Girl.
We've done a lot of work. We've cleaned up a lot of our own crap. We believe in ourselves today. And that energy of believing in ourselves has attracted us together today and brought us into this space where we together are co-creating and teaching. If I hadn't cleaned up my side of the street, and if I didn't believe in myself the way I do, I would never have manifested being on Marie TV. Yeah, there's a really nice line from A Course in Miracles, which is the metaphysical text I teach, and it is, miracles occur naturally, and when they're not occurring, something has gone wrong.
That's interesting.
It's a good one, right? So what happens is that synchronicity, that flow, that effortless action, that just sort of allowing, oh, I was thinking about that and it just showed up. That's how life is supposed to be. We get in the way. Our negative belief systems, our fears, our anxiety, our anger towards the past, that future tripping and projecting, all of that energy gets in the way of allowing all of the miracles to occur naturally.
The third step: obstacles are detours in the right direction. So maybe you can begin to look at your obstacles of maybe that divorce is an opportunity, a detour in the right direction, an opportunity to start to love yourself some more. Maybe that loss of that job is an opportunity to begin to do that thing you've been dreaming of. Maybe that diagnosis is an opportunity to get closer to God. Take that in. Let's reorganize your obstacles right now. What are the opportunities? What is the detour in the right direction? In what way can you begin to turn it upside down and see it as an opportunity to thrive and an opportunity to get more connected to the truth?
I have a very important lesson that's something I've been applying in my own life, and a girlfriend of mine called me yesterday and she said that she was feeling really attacked and judged by someone at work. And my response was, don't defend yourself, don't fight back, don't judge back. Your work, I said to her, is to, the moment that you feel judged and attacked, do something immediately to make somebody else feel loved. So when you feel as though someone has attacked you, judged you, bullied you, done anything to make you feel inadequate or unlovable, do the opposite. Do the exact opposite. Go and do something to make other people feel good. So go make somebody feel lovable, adequate, and good enough. And that simple practice of just taking yourself out of the knee-jerk reaction to fight back or defend, but instead to go give love, that can change everything for you. When you feel judged, immediately go give love. Go do something kind, do something compassionate, do something loving. That will be the quickest way to stop the momentum of the negative energy. There are way too many haters out there. There's so much negativity, there's so much bullying, and there's so much attack and judgment. And that's why I wrote an entire book about this topic. So my hope for you is that when you feel judged or attacked, instead of attacking back, you go give love. You do something to make somebody feel good. You do something that's based in compassion and love and joy. You make someone feel good about themselves.
Many of us have issues with productivity. Maybe we are overly productive, but we're feeling burnt out all the time, or we're not productive at all because we don't know where to start. I found personally, being in business for myself for the last 20 years, that I have been a little overly productive. I almost did too much, and I was constantly multitasking and making things happen and just moving so fast that ultimately I really burnt out. And I started feeling brain fog. I was feeling disoriented. I couldn't focus. I was feeling like, even though I for so many years was priding myself on the fact that I could get so much done at one time, I actually don't think I was being nearly as productive as I could have been. So I hit a bottom recently with this productivity overload, and I realized that I had to change my patterns. I had to change my ways. I was then blessed. I said a prayer. I said, I need some help with my brain fog, and I need some help with my productivity issue. And I, that day, got an email from the Dr. Oz show asking me to come on and do a segment with this lovely author and Dr. Mike Dow. And me and Mike had been in touch for many years, just because he had been an author. We were published by the same publishers. And Mike had written a book about brain fog. So that day, I'm like, thank you, universe. You're giving me exactly what I need. I go on Dr. Oz with Mike, and I'm backstage with him, and I'm like, listen, I'm feeling so chaotic, and I'm multitasking so much, and I feel like I've got brain fog, and I'm forgetting things. And he looked at me and says, how much are you doing at one time? And I said, oh, Mike, I'm doing 1,000,000 things at once. I have 1,000 tabs up on my screen. And he's like, these are big brain no-nos. And they're also productivity no-nos, is what he said. Because he said that the more I try to do and the more I try to multitask, the less I'm actually getting done. So he gave me a tip that I want to share with you that has changed everything for me. And his suggestion was to just do 5 things a day. To make a list of the 5 most important things that I need to do that day, and not do number 2 until I've completed number 1. And then once I complete number 1, move on to number 2, then on to number 3. And if I don't get through all 5 in one day, I'll just pick up the 5th the next day, or wherever I left off, I'll pick up the next day. And to really stick to that list and not move back and forth and not try to make 1,000,000 other things added onto that list, and just be really committed to that 5-task list. I did it. I started to just be very clear about the 5 things I was doing in a day. I told my team. I made a list in my base camp, which is where we keep all of our notes. And I made it really clear to myself, these are the only 5 things I'm doing throughout the day. As a result of making it super clear and conscious to myself that I was only going to do 5 things, I have been more productive. I have created more. I have been more intuitive. I have been more inspired, and I've been more creative.
And Cheryl says, what is Gabby's biggest fear?
Good question. I think that I don't even want to say them out loud.
Yeah.
How about that?
Cool. Absolutely fine with me.
Yeah, because I don't want to bring energy to it.
Yeah, sure. I like that. Can you expand on that then?
Well, here's the deal. We all have fears. Mm-hmm. No matter how committed to love we are, no matter how deeply connected we are to our own spiritual practice and to God and to the universe, we will always have fear, unless we somehow become enlightened, which is possible. But we will live with fear. And it's not that the fear goes away completely as a spiritual student. It's just that you don't believe in it anymore. So when you ask me to share my fears, it's like talking about something that it's like not true for me. So of course there's fear, and they pop up, and they're, it's present, but it's not real for me. So it feels like I'm doing the world a disservice to say it out loud. I live up in the country most of the time, and I have a new friend. She just had a baby. She's up in the country, living in the country, and she kept her apartment in New York City because she's like, I'm a New Yorker, I just gotta keep my apartment, So she's cutting checks every month, and she's not there. And she said, my landlord's raising my rent, I don't know what to do. And I was like, okay, let me ask you a few questions. I said, how does it feel to think about writing those checks every month to something that you're not using? And she said, oh, that does not feel good. And
I said, how does it feel to think about getting that baby in the car, driving down to New York City, finding a parking spot on the street of 13th Street, walking up the 4 flights of stairs with the baby? And she said, oh, that sounds really overwhelming. I said, well, Laura, how does it sound to save that money, get cozy in that house you have up in the country, and then when you want to come to New York City, just get the fanciest apartment you could possibly get. Just get like $1,000 a night apartment, because it doesn't matter, because you're saving that. And she was like, that sounds really fun. Laura texted me yesterday that she did not re-sign the lease. So follow the fun, follow the fun, follow the fun. And this is the lesson here. We're always like, where do I want to be? What do I want to get to? But we're never asking ourselves, how do I want to feel? And the moment that we start to ask ourselves, how do I want to feel? Then everything changes. Our point of attraction begins to shift.
So we've been talking a lot about ourselves. How do we deal with friends, loved ones who are going through the same challenges that we've been discussing? Fears, anxiety, nervous, not living their purpose, all of that. What about if it's the people around us that are really struggling?
So be the light, right? So I think a lot of people want to change the people around them. They want to say, read this book or watch this video or do this meditation, and that doesn't work. You have to. The only requirement for membership as a spiritual student is the desire, is the wanting. And so if somebody doesn't want that, then you're going to be a broken record. So be the light. Practice your own transformation. Get grounded in your own spiritual healing and live it. And in the expression of your light, you will reflect that onto others. And they will recognize their own light in yours. So you have a much more, a much higher likelihood of elevating somebody and healing somebody by just being the presence of that light, being that presence of that transformation. We live in a world that reinforces a scarcity mentality. And that mentality keeps us in an energy of lack. It keeps us from attracting the career path that we want, the abundance that we want, and allowing us to really live our purpose. There are 6 common blocks to abundance, and we all experience them in different ways. The first block is a lack mentality. And when we have a belief system around lack, we create more lack in our life. We all have stories from our childhood, how our parents experienced abundance or how they didn't. And those stories start to create an inner dialogue that gets us into a vibration of feeling like we don't have enough. And if we feel like we don't have enough, we do a lot of work to try to prove to the world that we are enough. The second block is the belief system that there's not enough to go around. We often overwork to try to get it all. We're constantly trying to get because we don't believe that there is enough. It makes us feel like we have to work so hard to get what we want. And that effort and that anxiety is really, really blocking the natural order, which is the flow of abundance. The third block is the block of comparison. We literally just turn on our social media and we're immediately into compare. And comparing blocks our attracting power because it focuses us on what we don't have rather than feeling good and feeling faith. The fourth block is the need to win in the place of having fun. Because when we're so focused on winning, we lose track of what it feels like to enjoy the process. And that winning can really get in our way of allowing. The fifth block is the fear of rejection. When we fear rejection, we don't take action. And in effect, we create more lack in our life because we're not actually trying, we're not actually putting out our desires, we're not actually taking that leap towards what we want. But it's important to understand that rejection can be protection. When we have some form of rejection show up in our life, it's the universe guiding us to something better. And the final block is the fear of judgment. You may be so terrified of being judged that you don't take that action, you don't show up for your dreams, you don't even contemplate a world where you could do the thing that you've been dreaming of. You're so afraid of judgment because you think that other people won't support you. But what's really important to recognize is that if you're afraid of what other people think and how they won't support you, it's typically a sign that you are not supporting yourself. Now that you know the 6 blocks to abundance, I want to give you my methods for clearing those blocks so that you can allow abundance to flow to you. It's called the Universal Abundance Method. The first step of the Universal Abundance Method is to protect your desires so you can stay in alignment. So if you have a really important desire, something that you care about, something that you want to manifest into your life, it's extremely valuable not to talk about it with anyone who might resist it. Step 2 is to focus on giving rather than getting. The more we are in that service mentality, the more positively the universe responds to us. This puts you into an abundance mentality quickly because the more you give, the more you will receive. And step 3 is to want more for others. It is an opportunity for us to see that we all can succeed. We all can have abundance in our life. And the second you start to intend for others to have more of what you want for yourself, you start to feel good. You start to feel like you're contributing. You start to feel like you're connecting. And you're no longer comparing or jealous. And you're no longer separating yourself from others. Redirect your focus from what can I get to how do I feel? And really allow that feeling of abundance to propel you forward and create momentum and allow the universe to bring to you all that you desire. One of the biggest blocks to being a super attractor is the comparison and the belief that there's not enough to go around. And I actually wrote a whole chapter in the book called There's More Than Enough to Go Around.
Love that, yeah.
And it's for that person that's like the pusher that I identified in the book, the person that's like, if I don't do it, it won't happen. And everybody around me is better than me, or I'm better than everybody else. And that separation and that judgment, that self-attack, and all the ways that we feel unworthy. And so when we start to identify the ways that we're pushing and controlling, we can begin to unpack that. And I guide the reader in the book to unpack that behavior and to recognize how much it's blocking someone from allowing and letting what they desire to come into their life. Because the real secret is to feel good. The secret is to love where you are in the moment and not compare yourself to where you think you should be. Because once you start just being psyched about what is, more of what you desire comes to you. And I can stand behind that wholeheartedly. So I get a call from one of my team members, and she's like, don't go on Facebook. I was like, what? And she's like, there's a whole person's Facebook page and they're railing on you and they're going off about you. And maybe like 30 people had chimed in being like, oh, you hate Gabby Bernstein? Thank God somebody's talking about it. Just like, going after me.
Yeah.
And while 30 people is a small number in the grand scheme of the universe, this feels really overwhelming. And even one person hating you on the internet can shake you to your core. Yes. So I do what anyone would do in that moment, and I start to go down that hole of shame and upset and what did I do wrong and how could I have triggered these people in this way and what is my part, and just getting so hooked into it, even though a lot of what was being said without any information, right? But regardless, I didn't even need to dig into it to feel the feelings of discomfort. And I was getting really, really hung up about it. And it took, it was about a full day of just like being down and bummed out. And I remember I was watching television with my husband at night, and I was staring at my phone, just being like, did more people weigh in? Like, what's happening? Yeah. And he looked at me and he's like, what is going on? You can't even be present with me in this room. Why are you so stuck in this? And I was like, it feels so horrible to be, pounded on the internet. And I'm so upset about it. And he said, listen, you've got it all wrong, girl. This is what my husband became my guru. And he said, you are focusing all your energy on these 30 people who are hating you, but you have thousands of people on your DM on Instagram that are trying to send you love, that are asking you questions, that want your support, and you don't even know how to find your DM.
You and me were in the same boat for a long time. Horrible. Yeah.
And he's like, you don't even know how to find it. He's like, let me show you how to find your DM and focus on the people that need you, not on these people that are hating on you. So I spend the next 4 days just DMing. Like I went on my Instagram, I was like, yo, who wants to DM? Like, let's go. And so I'm just like in it. And just feeling so, like within 48 hours, I was just like so transformed by just being in the service of others and connecting to the people that really wanted to hear from me and wanted my support. And what happened that was so transformational was I woke up one morning a few days into this, and I woke up at like 5 a.m. and I was upset by still a little upset by this.
Yeah, the thought came right back in.
Oh, there they are. Why are they talking about me?
Of course.
And in that moment, I was like, okay, Zach said get on DM. So I get back on my DM and I start DMing, and I see this girl, and she's talking to me, and she's saying, listen, I was sober for 2 years. I just went out. I feel like I want to commit suicide right now. I start DMing with her. Within the hour, I'm on the phone with her. And that day, she made a commitment to go back to recovery. So I have deep gratitude for those haters.
because those haters gave me this beautiful opportunity to be of service to somebody and potentially save her life, and also just get over it. When you, I mean, this must have been 5 years ago that we did an interview, and it was before I really understood why I was so in control, why I was needing to be, because I hadn't remembered my trauma, and I was living in fight or flight. I was an extreme pusher. And in that energy, we may be able to create some successes, but we will never have that life that is what we truly want.
Fulfillment, inner peace.
And we block bigger stuff too. Yeah. We block bigger stuff. We block it because our energy is just so frenetic. Yeah. There's also the person who's like the manic manifester, who is a lot of my audience can identify with this. They're like, reading all the books, watching Lewis Howes, watching this, doing this meditation every single day, and they're just like, why am I not manifesting? Why am I not manifesting? But it's because they've made their spiritual practice another form of addiction.
What is the thing that they need to let go of the most? If they are doing the habits and they are doing the steps and they are following your work.
You just said it. They just need to let go. It's like you can practice these principles, but not because you think you're going to get something. You have to practice these principles so that you feel good. And this isn't actually a book on how to get things, though it sounds like it. It's a book on how to feel good. Yeah. Because when we feel good, we're super attractive.
We attract more, yeah.
Super attractive. The first step to feeling good is to decide to stop feeling bad. I've been really working on getting honest and telling the truth and being forthcoming about how I'm feeling. I know this is something that can be very squirrely for people. We can get really hung up about actually saying how you feel and telling the truth. But when we don't tell the truth, we actually stifle our energy, we create toxic relationships, we carry resentments, and it builds up and builds up and builds up. So I've gotten into the practice of just radically telling the truth wherever I am, however I need to be authentic and truthful about what I'm feeling. But I have a few steps that I think are important that you need to take before you actually give that truth over. Because if you share your truth without cleaning up your side of the street, it'll feel like an attack. It'll feel like judgment. So the process of telling the truth is quite simple. First, take a look at your side of the street. Look at what's up for you. If you feel called to get honest with somebody, what is it within you that's feeling triggered? What is it that's feeling activated? And do whatever you need to do to clear that, whether it be forgiving yourself, forgiving the other person, saying prayers for that other person, sending loving energy to that other person, and clean up the energy before you bring over the truth. Because you don't want to show up with this nasty attitude because your truth won't be heard. You need to bring your truth with a lot of light so that they can see their light reflected back to them. So the process is really simple. Look at your side of the street before you show up and tell the truth, and then be prepared to get honest from a place of love. If you can tell the truth from a place of love, then you will be heard. And that's when you feel healed, and that's when a healing can be offered up to the relationship. But as long as you're telling the truth from a place of negativity or judgment, it will not be heard and it won't work. I learned this the hard way, unfortunately, but the experience has given me this great opportunity to learn how to tell the truth with grace and power. The benefit of telling the truth is that you start to feel like you're taking care of yourself. You start to feel like you're owning your voice, you're owning your needs, you're protecting yourself when you need to protect yourself, and you're sticking up for what your values are, no matter what. And you're also just really getting clear about what your boundaries may be within certain relationships. And so sometimes people may not like your truth, but you can always trust that if you're sharing your truth from a place of love, you will be heard. Even if they get defensive, even if they get upset, that your loving presence is enough to allow that truth to come through in a very authentic way. The other part that may be very helpful is once you've told your truth, give the person their opportunity to tell their own. Hold that space for them to say how they feel. There's always two sides to every story. So speak up and then allow the other person to speak up, clearing that space for the truth to unfold and trusting that the truth will totally set you free. My mom has always said this to me for my entire life. The truth will set you free. The truth will set you free. And I believe that we all want freedom. We want freedom from resentment, freedom from anxiety, freedom from fear. And that freedom is available as we start to open up to the truth within us. I write in the book about how I'm going to push the metaphysical envelope and I'm going to go to places I haven't gone before. And I never went there before because I didn't want to alienate my reader. And I had a lot of new seekers that were joining me on this journey. But I feel right now that people are completely ready for this conversation and they can take it or leave it and make it their own. Yeah. And my beliefs do not have to be theirs. So that's a really important point that whatever we believe when we think about a higher power or spiritual presence is what we believe. And all that matters is that you believe it, not that someone said it's this or that. It may be a religious, spiritual belief system. It may be a belief system from your childhood. It may be something that you read in a book that resonated with you. You decide. That's the beautiful thing about being on a spiritual path. But what I share is what I believe to be true about what it means to connect to the voice of our higher self, our inner guidance system, and our inner wisdom, versus what it means to rely on a guide or an angel or a deceased family member or a loved one. And so I believe we all have we all have a team of guides, of spiritual guides that work on our behalf all the time. And what they're there for is often to guide or be a bridge for our thoughts. So when our thoughts are in those low vibrations, if we pray to a guide or we pray to God or we pray to an angel, we can say, thank you for bridging my thought from this low vibrational fear-based belief system to a higher vibe. And the way that they would do that may be by putting a book in front of you or guiding you to an episode of Marie TV that is going to just change your mind. So guides work through the internet and books and people and your subconscious. And so you're gonna maybe when you have those moments where you're like, I have this sense that I need to watch that episode of Marie TV right now. Maybe somebody watching just got the hit. Yeah. That could have been your guide just giving you that boost of inspiration. Watch that. Watch that because that's going to change you. And so don't underestimate those moments of synchronicity because there's support that's leading you in those synchronistic moments. And so the more that we align with our spiritual belief systems and the more we allow ourselves to accept that it's good to feel good, and the more we use things like the emotional guidance scale or the choose again method or any of the methods in this book, the better we feel. And the better we feel, the more we can hear the guidance that we're receiving. Yeah. The guidance is always there, but we block it. We cut it off. And so we can open up to that guidance.
When you notice that you're in that story and that trauma of your, negativity, fear, or judgment attack that's making you feel bad, notice it. Notice the thought right away. And then you say, how is this thought making me feel? That's step one. Notice the thought and how is it making me feel? And the second step is to forgive yourself for having the thought.
Not beating yourself up. I used to do this all my life.
Why am I having
such an idiot? Why am I so stupid? Why can't I figure this out? What is wrong with me? That was my pattern for years.
I know.
So how do we get out of that?
Forgive yourself for having the thought. Forgive the thought. If you can't forgive yourself for having the thought, because that just feels too heavy for you, just forgive the thought. Like, okay, that's that thought again. That's from my childhood trauma. That's from my, my fear of this. That's from whatever. There it is again. And then the third step is to start to proactively choose again. And this is where we begin to reach for the next best feeling thought. We reach for, this is very influenced by Abraham Hicks, which is mentioned 23 times in that book.
What was it called? Like the Purge of Appreciation or something?
They do the Rampage of Appreciation.
Rampage of Appreciation,
So when you're going to choose again in that third step, you're going to reach for a thought that you believe in. So
what if you don't believe in any good thoughts?
You have a thought that could be better. And here's what it could be. It could be, I can turn on Lewis Howes's podcast right now and that might make me feel better. That's a thought. Right? Or I have that book that I could open a page to and maybe it will give me inspiration. Or, just something as simple as like, I'm going to go for a walk for 5 minutes. That might make me feel better, right? So, and then you keep going. You keep reaching for it. So you reach for the thought, I'm going to go for a walk. I'm going to let myself feel better. And then you go, you go for that walk and I'm going to just listen to some music. That music might make me feel better. Or the next thought could be, I actually have dinner tonight with my friends, so that will be great. And I can bring myself to that. But little things like my credit card got stolen and I'm on the phone with the credit card company and I'm trying to get out of the hotel with my son. And I have a nanny with me. So like my nanny's like, uh-oh, the baby pooped, and I'm on the phone with the credit card company and there's no Uber in Santa Fe and the baby's pooped and you're just like, these moments. And so I start going into I'm out of control, I'm freaking out. And so I notice it really quickly now. I witness the thought, I forgive myself for acting out and being rude to the woman at the credit card company. And then I choose again. Okay, let's change the poopy diaper. Let's get in the car.
Let's have fun at this moment.
Yes, I could have carried that negative thing all the way down to Santa Fe having lunch, but I decided to turn it around quickly.
Yeah.
And that's how we can start to live like that.
There's no such thing as a mistake. Everything happens in divine order. I am being guided to learn and grow. Here we go, people. When we look at the situations in our life from a place of regret, we ultimately miss the opportunity for growth. We miss the opportunity to see what could have been beneath that discomfort. We miss the opportunity to acknowledge and recognize that every experience in our life is not an accident. It doesn't happen by accident. It happens in a divine order. And when we live and lead and show up for our life, grounded in that belief system, then we can face our most difficult moments with a sense of purpose and power. And we can show up for those moments with a opportunity to grow, focusing on the opportunity to grow, focusing on the opportunity for a shift, for strength, for spiritual awakening, for a new way of being and a new perception of our lives. So that's a lot. I know that's a lot. I know that when something really bad happens, like what we've been experiencing recently in the world, what we experienced in the United States last week, when we experienced something like a pandemic, we don't want to see the spiritual assignment. We don't want to see that this is not a mistake. But typically when difficult things happen, they are revealing what needs to be healed. These uncomfortable moments, whether they be global or they be personal, are revealing what we have to heal, whether we have to heal it on an individual level, which is where it begins, and what we have to heal on a global perspective and a global level. So showing up to all these uncomfortable moments and recognizing them, that they are not a mistake, that they're happening in a divine order, and it's our opportunity to perceive these situations from the lens of what can I learn from this? How can I grow from this? How can I shift from this? How can I lean towards more love? How can I lean towards more joy? How can I lean into the lesson rather than the problem, the solution rather than seeking all of the faults and looking for all of the problems?
So I'm in this 3-year journey of trying to conceive, and really for a year and a half, almost 2 years, I was like in the low of it, really feeling like, okay, I'm not good enough. My body isn't working. How can I make this happen? How can I make this happen? Right? And really pushing and controlling and trying to eat things and track my ovulation and all that crap. And then about the fall of 2017, I started to get into more of a surrendered state, and I started practicing the methods that I teach in the book of just really trusting that there was a higher guidance that I'd believed in for my whole life and relying on that. And that's when things started to get really wild and synchronistic. And so around the fall of 2017, I was driving in the countryside where I live most of the time. And this is where I do the majority of my manifesting, is just driving in the car, looking at the foliage, listening to my mantra music. And I feel so awesome when I'm in that position. And I'm just so grateful in the moment. And I'm driving and I'm driving. And I'm like, I feel so awesome and so grateful that I live in this country town and I have all these friends and I don't have any cell service right now. And I'm so psyched about that. And no one's bothering me and I feel good. And then all of a sudden, I felt the presence of a baby in the backseat. And I was like, wow, like deeply moved. Tears started to roll down my face. I felt so moved. And at that point, I heard my intuition say to me, the baby's coming in March. And I was like, and it was so loud. Like, you know, when you hear the voice of your inspiration, you're like, that's it. Okay, I believe. And so I started saying to myself over and over, like, oh my God, March, you know, I have to conceive at this time for the baby to come in March. I saw myself getting a little into it, like too into it and hooked into it. So I said, okay, listen, you know what, universe, I'm going to give this over. And if my baby is indeed coming in March, show me a sign. Show me lilies to let me know that the baby's coming in March. And a week later, I got a letter in the mail from a reader, and it had this angel card in it. And on the back of it was this picture of Archangel Gabriel. And Archangel Gabriel is typically depicted holding lilies. So I was like, yo, this is dope. And on the back, he wrote, I thought that you needed this. And I was like, thank you. Good. So here I am. March is coming. March is happening. And early March rolled around and I wasn't pregnant. So I was like, what the hell? And not only was I devastated once again, another month has gone by, I'm not pregnant, but this time I was like, I thought the universe had my back. Like I was getting signs, like what's up? So I walked into my husband's office and I was just hysterically crying, so upset, so defeated. And my phone was like on the desk, like right here. And all of a sudden my phone started playing a song. And the song was just repeating. And so I go like, when your phone malfunctions, you're like, I'm just going to turn that off. I was like, okay, I'm just going to turn that off. And then I look at the phone and I start listening to the lyrics. And the lyrics are, way go Lily, way go Lily. And the guy keeps repeating, way go Lily. And then I look even further and I look at the name of the song is Way Go Lily. And he just keeps repeating Lily. And I look even further and the album title is I See the Sign.
And where was this playing? What area of your phone? This was just...
My phone just turned on.
Oh,
no, it's spirit working through the technology. And so my phone just turned on. It was an album that I'd never heard. I'd never heard the song before. It wasn't in my Spotify and it just began playing. Now get this. So April rolls around and I'm pregnant. But then I did the math and I was like, when did I conceive? I conceived the last day of March. So that synchronicity, you hear March, you find your signs, you feel super guided. That synchronicity is available to all of us, but it's when we have to get out of that pusher mentality and out of that controlling behavior to allow the presence of spirit to work through us and guide us, or the universe or whatever you call it, to be the presence of direction, inspiration, to be that guide.
There's always a spiritual assignment. There's always something to learn. There's always an opportunity for growth in all relationships, particularly romantic relationships. But when that learning is no longer happening, when one person's growing and the other person isn't, when there is a leap spiritually and the other person is not leaping with, there can be a disconnect in the learning opportunity. The idea that we could be forcing a relationship, if you have a sense that you're forcing a relationship, it's likely that you are. It doesn't mean that the relationship isn't right. It means that you are trying to make it right rather than allowing it to show you what's right. Rather than trying to make someone who you think they should be, allow them to teach you who you really are here to step into. Not teach you, but reflect back to you who you are here to step into. Rather than trying to change someone else, put the mirror back on yourself and say, what is it within me that is ready to develop more? What is it within me that is ready to grow more? If you show up like that and you keep growing and you keep rising up and they don't rise with you, there's your answer. If you keep focusing your side of the street, keeping your side of the street clean, what is it that I got to work through here? How can I show up more? And they say, oh, okay, I'm going to be a reflection of her new shift. And I'm going to grow as a result of her growth. And I'm going to be new because of this development within her. Then you are both energetically growing together. If you're here and he's not growing with, there's your answer. There's your answer. If you're trying to force him to get here with you, you are forcing the relationship. Put the focus right back on top to you. Change your inner work, your inner life, reflecting that mirror back onto yourself. And if he starts to vibrate at a higher frequency as you do, you know the answer.
To see my recent one-on-one with Gabby Bernstein, check the video right there next to me. I think you'll love it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.
Trauma is very delicate, and we all have it. You rip off the Band-Aid too fast, you'll get blown out. It'll be too scary at once. We all have the capacity to be of service to others.